Get at me. Hey everyone.
Carbs your brain food. Carbs your brain food. Carbs your brain food. Carbs your brain food. No! What?
Reason number 5, you're not getting enough fiber and hydration.
Oh my Abby, are you kidding me? Just remove it! Remove it from the diet! Oh!
Is diet
The real reason you're bloated. By Abbey Sharp.
pseudoscience? Get at me. Hey everyone. Abbey Sharp, welcome to Abby's Kitchen. In part 1 of this 2-part series, we'll be breaking down the real reasons why you're bloated. But first,
will you though? That's the question. But first, what?
tell you about my sponsor, BetterHelp. So,
No!
and you can pause the screen or look at the description to check out my disclaimer, including a trigger warning to those with current or previous experiences with disordered eating. As always, feel free.
Oh, you mean like eating the standard American diet? Or a vegan diet? Or a vegetarian diet? Abby, what's your definition of an eating disorder?
Get this video if it's not supportive to your journey. And of course, if you are new here.
Well, I mean, look, it's not really supportive to my journey attaining optimal health. But I'm watching it anyway because a lot of people think that it is, and will think that it is, and have thought that it was. And so it's my responsibility to combat this. If necessary.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring that little bell so that you never miss out on an episode. And also follow me over on TikTok and Instagram at Abby's Kitchen.
No. TikTok, delete it off of your phone.
To say very clearly that all digestive issues, including bloating, are remarkably complex. It's
Not really.
really hard for me to make this video because the cause of people's bloating and therefore the appropriate treatment will be highly individualized.
Well, correct. Correct, because there are different... Well, hold on a minute. The reasonings are going to be individualized in many cases, absolutely. The solutions are not going to be as individualized, and I will explain that as we move along. Abigail. If that's her full name, I don't know. I'll stick with Abby.
So for example, the recommendations for folks with bloating from constipation would possibly make...
From constipation? But what caused the constipation? Because that could be the same cause of the bloating, the subsequent bloating. What's the root cause?
bloating from something like SIBO far worse and vice versa.
And what caused the SIBO?
So always speak to a registered dietitian who specializes...
Never speak to a registered dietitian ever under any circumstances. Ever. Unless you want to be propagandized every single second that you sit in the classrooms that pertain to, being taught by the American Dietetics Association, which is really bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry, with billions of dollars funneled to them per year. Carbs your brain food! 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 Carbs your... Get out!
in digestive health about your unique case. In fact, I consulted with not one, but 4 of my GIRD colleagues in this video to get their...
Abby, why do you have to read from a transcript? You are reading from a teleprompter. I won't be too... I don't know. Things add up. It's not... Anyway, whatever.
Clinical insight. So a big thank you to Dasha Agulnik.
All right, let's take a look. So RD, registered dietitian, nope. Whatever they're going to say is nonsense. RD, nope. Okay. MS, okay. Master of Science, CNS, LDN. Okay, so still a problem. Frugal Nutrition. Lacey Dunn, Master of Science, registered dietitian. Are you kidding me right now? All dietitians, basically. Oh boy, I can't wait to hear what these people have to say. Abby, you consulted with other registered dietitians? I don't understand what the point is. Are you like admitting to the fact that you're... Whatever. Fine. Fine. I understand interacting with other people in a community is useful because they all have differing ideas, even if you all are registered dietitians. The problem, though, is that the way that registered dietitians are taught is not through teaching. So there's not actually a lot of diversity in that group, okay? If you want a community that is actually diverse, where you can communicate with other people about, asking what, you can ask them questions and they think deeply about things. You're someone that thinks deeply about things. If you're keen to optimize your health, and you genuinely express curiosity of the inner workings of the body and how that affects you and pertains to you on a day-to-day basis, go sign up to be a member of my health science community, which is linked in the description below. Okay. At the time of recording, we're still in the founding phase, which means that if you sign up now, you will get the lowest price that I will ever be offering, locked in for life, so long as you remain a member in good standing. And I will be significantly increasing the prices at some point later on. I will be. You get this deal on one condition, and that is that you provide me feedback if you have any. If you have any, that's it. And you might not. But we need more people in that community because we need communities of people that actually know what they're talking about and then ask questions, ask more questions than they make convicting statements, as opposed to these communities of registered dietitians that are about to espouse absolute nonsense to our faces. You ready? You ready for this, my friend?
Gorley, Caitlin Self, and Lacey Dunn for all of their help. As always, I'm going to be leaving links to their practices below. Next, I want to quickly flag that, diet culture has kind of co-opted the term bloating to be like a more PC term for fat. It has also pathologized the...
No. Maybe in certain circles, but no, bloating does not mean fat. Those are completely different things, actually.
Normal experience of your stomach expanding and contracting throughout the day.
No, it is not, Abby. It is not merely the stomach expanding and, well, you said contracting, so we'll use that. It is not merely what that is at all. Okay, my stomach expands and contracts after I eat, and I don't have any bloating, Abby. You are seriously going to sit here and suggest that that's what bloating is? Really? Really? Bloating is usually accompanied by significant distension, much more significant distension of the stomach that is sort of disproportionate to the amount of food that you've actually consumed, which suggests that the expansion is happening as a result of something else. For example, gas buildup. Are you out of your mind, Abby?
Is wellness culture BS?
I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bull.
It is normal to experience daily gas, and it's
Oh my God, Abby. Seriously? So hold on a second. What you're doing here is you're conflating the word normal with indicated. It's normal to be significantly over fat and obese. Does that mean it's indicated? No. Not one animal is designed to have extremely large, extremely high amounts of gas production. It's not true. Not true. How does gas production occur, Abby? Do you know the answer to this question? because it's mainly through fermentation of indigestible plant material. Okay? Some are worse than others. It doesn't matter. And that also just depends on who you are. Okay? We're talking things like broccoli, peas, lentils, beans. Okay? They ferment and they directly result in a massive production of gas. Chemically speaking, primarily in the form of methane. That's a problem, Abby. It doesn't matter if it's normal. You're right. It's based on a false premise. I don't care what's normal. I care about whether something is indicated or contraindicated. Buy now, link is in the description below for paperback, hardcover, ebook, and self-narrated audiobook editions because I am all about authenticity. Imperative that you read that so that you can actually fully understand how to look at health. Okay, instead of just, you finally are able to cut through the noise of all of the arguing that happens in the human nutrition science space, the mudslinging of studies, this and that. You just could be able to cut through all that, wipe the slate clean and go, okay, well, that clearly isn't working. Let's start from the beginning again, the seed. Where do we actually start looking at how we ought to eat, how we ought not to eat? And when you start looking through a far clearer lens, as opposed to that foggy one that gets in the way, imagine looking through that, the foggy lens, or like you forgot to clean your glasses or something. That's the health space now. And you have to try and figure out the picture, right? This just gives you clarity. It really does just give you clarity. You can finally think clearly about health again. So anyway, imperative that you read that because it's important to be able to do that nowadays. You'll have an advantage over everyone else.
For your bowel habits to change in response to certain foods or
it is normal for your bowel habits to change in response to certain foods. What is that? It's really vague. That's way too vague.
Of the month. But if you're experiencing bloating that is very painful,
right, which is usually the result of extreme amounts of gas building up and also an obstruction in your bowel system because, I don't know, you've consumed things that you can't digest, like fiber.
To other side effects like nausea.
Same thing.
Visibly distended to the point that you maybe look pregnant or it feels like
right.
A balloon in there, and that these symptoms seem to be chronic and persistent every day. That's when
what? What do you think is the right answer? What do you think she's going to say, and what do you think is the right answer?
Definitely worth reaching out for help. So in part,
to whom for help? To whom for said assistance, Abby? Because I can tell you what, I know exactly who I would recommend people reach out for help from. Okay, and that would be an internationally accredited coach, a health and fitness coach, through a very highly reputable, very high credibility, high veracity, high integrity coaching program. Okay. You catch my drift? If you haven't signed up to become one of those coaches, links are in the description below to get a hold of Coach Peter, who runs said program that I'm affiliated with, who has coached clients for over 20 years and has decided to take a break to coach coaches like your future self. Schedule a free call with him for about 15 minutes to see if you're a right fit for the program. This is your opportunity to make authority mean something again, because this is what you're getting right now.
One, we're going to be discussing the top reasons why you may be experiencing bloating, and then in part
2, in your opinion, that are probably not based in any logic at all, any bit of logic at all.
We're going to be getting into what to do about it. Reason number
Well, Abby, I wish that you were a reputable source on this, but I suspect that everything that is going to exude from your mouth is going to be a bunch of false information on how to resolve the issue concerned here. Okay, and not just false, but actively counterproductive.
And food intolerances. Undiagnosed
Food intolerances. Okay, so this is the meretricious term that a bunch of health influencers throw out there and health experts throw out there to describe introducing a bunch of quote-unquote foods that aren't so. Things that we're not designed to actually eat as a species. Okay, this is what it gets down to, ultimately. Okay, we are animals. We are animals. We are of a certain species. We are Homo sapiens sapien. And what that means is that we have one diet for our speciation. Just like every other animal on this planet has one diet for its speciation. There is ever so slight variation amongst members of a species. Fine. I've never said otherwise. There is an argument to make that there is potentially slightly, okay, more variation to be had amongst humans because of our vast ubiquity as a species over the course of the last 13,000 or so years. Really, it's been shorter than that because 13,000 years ago is when we started the ubiquity process, right? But we still weren't as ubiquitous. But even just to be as forgiving as possible, okay, 13,000 years, but does that mean that one person can just be on a vegan diet and another person can be on carnivore? And both are equally as appropriate? Because of bio-individuality? No. And in fact, Abby, you actually agree with that sentiment because you think that nobody should be on a carnivore diet ever because it's going to clog all the normal stuff, all the trite, banal nonsense. Oh, it's going to clog your arteries. It's bad for gut microbiome. Where's your fiber? So, what are you thinking?
food intolerances to things like dairy, gluten, or literally any other food that's being poorly digested and therefore fermenting in the gut.
Okay, hold on, Abby, you said gluten. What is gluten, Abby? Because I agree. I even agree with the whole dairy sentiment, but whether that's actually to do with the intrinsic properties of dairy or whether that's to do with the perverse handling of dairy, like pasteurization and homogenization, and all that, well, tough to say. I'll put that to the side for now. If you want to learn more about my opinions on that, once again, buy my book, Contraindicated. You don't just learn my opinions on health. You don't just acquire clarity when you're actually thinking about health. You actually get to learn about me as a person at the end, where I came from, how I arrived at this alternative health space, and my personal conclusions. Like, for example, about dairy. And raw dairy. Ooh, hot topic. What are my opinions on that? You have two options, and they're not mutually exclusive. You can either buy that book, or you can binge my material. All my public material. I'll link it all at the top right corner of the screen. All of it. You can also check out my my always-on health broadcast in the live tab. 24/7. Streaming. Anyway, yeah, Abby. So, what is gluten? It is a plant compound. It is a plant toxin, in fact. Why are people so sensitive to gluten? I'm not saying it's every single person that has debilitating problems with gluten, but you must ask yourself, why is that the case? Why are all these allergies? Why do they all have to do with plants? You ever ask yourself that question? And these plants, it's not like you're just encountering a wild bush. Okay, these are human hybridized. Okay, these are said to be extremely safe because we've hybridized them so drastically and so assiduously. But no, even with those plants, people are so sensitive. Peanut allergies, gluten allergies. Makes you think. Makes you think, Abby, or at least it ought to. It should make you think. Anyway.
Of course, cause excess gas production and therefore.
Define excess, Abby. Is it just based on arbitrary cutoffs? Because arbitrary is really anything beyond. I mean, 0, but very minimal. Okay? Very minimal.
Bloating. Allergies can also occasionally cause bloating because the histamine response can increase mast cell production, which may elevate estrogen, which can cause constipation, and that can ultimately result in bloating. But
okay, so reductionism, and that may or may not be correct, but hold on a minute. Why are you having allergies in the first place? Like, okay, fine, mechanism may or may not be correct. Why are you having the allergy in the first place? What is the allergy from? Ask yourself that question. We don't sit here trying to justify, oh, well, some people have alcohol intolerance where they get like, some people just, it takes only a little bit to get them drunk, and then try and justify all these reasons like, oh, well, it's because their body just doesn't handle it as well because of this, that, and the other thing, and you need to take this drug to counteract that. No, we just call alcohol a drug. We say that it's, a toxin, and we shouldn't be consuming it. So why don't we do that with all the other things we're not evolved to withstand in significant amounts at all, genetically across our genome? Why don't we do that? Why do we forget that we're animals? Why do we insist upon that? Okay, we're not sitting here trying to figure out what a lion is supposed to eat. We just know. And it's not just because of their behavior in the wild. Because you could make the argument, well, it's because we don't live in that setting anymore. We live in different settings, so we can optimize our whatever. We know this from comparative anatomy, observational paleoanthropology, chemical anthropology. We know this from certain elements of biochemistry, or of their biochemistry.
Generally speaking, bloating is more of an intolerance than an allergy symptom.
Well, those aren't exactly mutually exclusive. You can be intolerant to something through an allergic reaction. Okay. However, I will say that bloating is more so a physiological phenomenon than it is an inflammatory phenomenon in many cases. So sure, there is some distinction there, but they're not mutually exclusive. You can have both of those occurring simultaneously. Once again, Abby, though, intolerance and or allergy to what? Because I'll tell you right now, it's not meat and fat and protein in isolation. A lot of people might think that, okay, when they hear it, it's like, you might be, if you're a new viewer, you might be watching this, if you're still here, you might be thinking, well, no, that does happen to me if I eat more meat or fat or whatever. I would say two things. Number one, I would ask you first, is it in the context of other things like plants and carbohydrates? Because if so, you can't really say that it is because of that. You can't. It's like a fire, right? You need 3 ingredients for a fire. All 3 of them need to be there or else you won't have the fire, right? Which means that if you add oxygen in, if you have fuel and heat, so 2 of the ingredients, but you don't have oxygen, and you add oxygen in, it might cause the fire, the flare, right? You remove the oxygen, it goes away. You add the oxygen back in, it comes back. Does that mean that oxygen causes fires? See, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So, again, that's why I say it's not the meat and the fat and the protein and in the eggs and all that stuff. And well, maybe eggs, actually. Different story, though. Meat, ruminant meat. Okay, it's not that in isolation. I'm telling you that right now. What is the meat cooked with if it is? Like, there's a lot of things that need to be considered. There's a reason that a carnivore diet is the quote-unquote ultimate elimination diet, but I don't even really like calling it that because that suggests that it should be temporary, and it's not. It's unfortunate. It's suboptimal. Oh, it's a shame that I have to be on this, right? Which is silly.
Fortunately, while food allergies can be reliably diagnosed, intolerances are a little more hit and miss. Those food sensitivity tests that you see all over Instagram are a little more hit and miss. Those food sensitivity tests that you see all over Instagram are not evidence-based. So
no, but Abby, you don't know what evidence-based actually looks like. You wouldn't know what evidence looks like if it hit you upside the chin, okay? I have a whole video, a whole playlist. Sorry, playlist. I'll link at the top right corner of the screen. That is all about statistics 101, basically. Like, just basic stuff. So that you understand how much of the evidence is not so at all. And why that is. Because that's what most people think of when they think of evidence. They think of numbers and charts and everything like that. And it's like, well, sort of, sure. But the majority of that in human nutrition is nonsense. It's coming from a nonsensical field.
Elimination diet, which should be supervised by a registered dietitian, is really the gold standard of care here. Reason number 2,
Hold on 1 second. Did you hear that? I just wanted to let her get that out there, but let's rewind, okay? Let's rewind. What did she just say here?
not evidence-based. So an elimination diet, which should be supervised by a registered dietitian, is
An elimination diet, whatever the hell that is. I'm sure that she would have some qualms with the idea of some elimination diets. What do you think? Supervised with a registered dietitian. Always has to be that. Always. No. Because you're not going to be eliminating shit if that's the case. Nothing. You'll be eliminating like Twinkies. Okay? Which, by the way, may very well not be the cause of your bloating. Because actually Twinkies are more easily digested. Because most of that stuff is digestible, as much as it's deranged and foreign. Fiber, on the other hand, plant material, not so much.
the gold standard of care here. Reason number 2,
Gold standard of care. According to whom? On the basis of what, Abby? Don't be a vegan. Don't be a loser. Buy the shirt. Buy it. Today. Today. Anyway, yeah, so gold standard of care. No, Abby, sorry. That's not true. Fail! You failed!
sensitivity to high FODMAP foods. So FODMAPs are
Sensitivity to high FODMAP. So, what encompasses high FODMAP? There's a lot of animal foods. Dairy is an outlier, an exception to this, which is actually, it's why I don't really encourage, if you can get, this is what I usually say, be wary of dairy. I said this in my book. If you can get away from dairy and sustain an indicated species-appropriate, species-specific diet for your speciation, I would do so. That even includes butter. If that's a deal breaker for you, if you're not having any problems with dairy, this, that, and the other thing, no worries. Keep it in. I have butter, but I'd recommend getting away from that. Okay? So exclude dairy here. Dairy is also, it's interesting because, you know, ever since the 1970s in the United States, federally, you've had the regulations on pasteurization and homogenization. I have a friend personally who thought he was lactose intolerant until he had raw milk, in which case he had no problems whatsoever. So that's a problem. But also, I think there are intrinsic problems with dairy as well. We have been consuming dairy for less time than we've been consuming plants in a significant amount, which is about 9,000 to 11,000 years that we've been consuming dairy. I think there's actually quite a few problems with dairy, quite a few potential problems. So, excluding dairy, what's included in FODMAP foods, huh, Abby? Is there a lot of animal foods?
chain carbohydrates that are poorly absorbed in the small intestine, leaving
Poorly absorbed in the small intestine. But did you hear that? Carbohydrates. Now, what does that remind you of? It might not remind you of anything. You might not be aware of the chemical structure of things, and that's okay. But if you do, if you are aware, what does that remind you of? What does it sound like? Does it sound like fiber? Okay, not all. Look, Every piece of string differs in length. Every chain differs in length. Fiber involves very long chains of cellulose, indigestible carbohydrate. We don't have the enzymes to break down those chains. So we don't absorb fiber at all, and in fact, we can't digest it whatsoever. We can't break it down. You have different types of fiber. You can ferment some. That would be the soluble fiber. Resistant starch is another type, very similar. Insoluble fiber, you can't do that at all with. It just wreaks havoc on your digestive system. Just abrades the entire thing down the way. Okay, it's not cleaning anything up. If anything, it's actually conducive to causing an obstruction. Okay, because you can't digest the thing. You see, with meat and animal products, whenever it reaches your colon, it's liquid. It is fully digested. It is liquid. Okay? You want proof of that? Go check out Kent Carnivore. Okay? Lee Copus is his name, who lost his colon ostensibly from fiber intake. He has a colostomy bag now. Go check out what happens when he eats plant material versus whenever he consumes meat, because you're seeing exactly what would arrive in your colon. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, so where do these carbohydrates come from? Do they come from animal foods? No, they don't. No. They come from plants. Sorry. No. Sorry, Abby.
To be fermented by bacteria, which then causes gas. Some of the
Right. So why don't you cut out that damn fiber? Why don't you do that? Why don't you go ahead and do that instead of keeping it in? Okay, what's the requirement for fiber again? Over any period of time in any stage of life for a human being? 0. Right? What is the indicated amount? How much fiber did we encounter on a regular, recurring basis throughout our evolutionary past? Do we encounter a sufficient amount to have caused full genotypic adaptations to our genome for it to have been indicated for us to introduce into our bodies on a day-to-day basis today? No, we didn't. Okay. Go ahead and check out our digestive system. Go ahead and check out the relationship paleoanthropologically, observationally in paleoanthropology between our brain size and our digestive system that directly corresponds to increased meat consumption. And tell me what that suggests. I'll give you a little hint. Our brain size skyrocketed, which was directly commensurate with a vast decrease in our cecum, which resulted in an appendix being formed, which was literally designed to ferment fiber and pack it in. What does that suggest to you? It doesn't just suggest that we increased our meat consumption. It means that we replaced something else with meat consumption. Could it have been plants? Abby.
common offenders include foods like cruciferous.
Right. Okay. Common offenders. Look at this. Cruciferous veggies. Is that a plant? Cool. Yep. So this would include broccoli, cauliflower, even kale, actually. Brussels sprouts. What do we got here? Beans. Legumes. Are they plants or not? Dairy. What did I say about dairy? Wheat. Oh, what's that? And non-calorie sweeteners. We'll ignore the word calorie here, the completely inappropriate word to be using for anything pertaining to food, any rhetoric pertaining to food, for just a moment here. But sweeteners, what are those usually based from? They're based from animal foods? Or are they based from either plants like stevia, monk fruit, or, I don't know, synthetic laboratory concoctions like sucralose, Splenda, aspartame. Anyway.
Cheese, beans and legumes, dairy, wheat, as well as some non-caloric sweeteners. However,
Right. So what is your solution, Abby? I mean, you say however right now, and I'm not looking forward to what you're going to say, but what is the solution, Abby? Is it to keep them in, or is it to remove them from the diet? Again, what is the requirement for any of those foods there? 0. How often do we encounter those foods in nature and eat them and consume them? The answer is almost never, not to mention that that's not just because of the fact that it was extremely scarce and you had to grow them yourself and everything like that, and that only happened during the Agrarian Revolution, but also because most of the things that you just listed on there did not exist back then. And at the very least, if they did, because some of them did, they did not exist even remotely in their current forms. We as humans have hybridized plants so dramatically, okay, to be larger, less fibers, actually, oddly enough, in many cases, juicier and sweeter when it comes to fruit, available year-round, so there's no season to anything anymore. Okay? So that's another reason why. Some of them didn't even exist 200 years ago. Watermelon? Really? Take a look at what watermelon used to look like and how it was depicted in paintings less than 200 years ago. You might be surprised.
it's important to note that sensitivity to high FODMAP foods is highly individualized, meaning that
Well, just like everything else is, yes. We're all individuals. However, we are still all the same species, which means that we all have an indicated diet for our speciation, okay? Every single lion is slightly different genetically, too. That doesn't mean that one lion should be eating a vegan diet and another one should be eating zebras every single day. Or every 5 days or so, because they actually fast. All carnivores are different. Okay, look at this nonsense on the screen here. A bunch of slop, Abby.
could be sensitive to certain high FODMAP foods in specific quantities, but able to tolerate.
Right, so if that's the case, why don't you just avoid the entire issue and remove all the foods? You see, there are times to dig into things and get into the nuance, okay? That's actually what we teach our coaches in our carnivore certification program. Again, headed by Carnivore Coach Peter. If you have not signed up yet, you are missing out. If you have seen tremendous benefit in yourself and other people after embarking upon a carnivore diet, okay, you've seen all these great stories, you actually understand a bit of the science, or you don't, whatever it may be. You don't just have a story to tell, you have a responsibility to share it. But responsibility requires competence. And this program is a great way to acquire that competence. We need to make authority mean something. Now, any day, anybody can call themselves a coach online, okay? So you have two choices. You can either remain silent or you can step up to the plate. Now, this is not to say that this program is the best fit for you, the best way to spread the message. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this is the only way. But what I am saying is that the best way to determine that is by scheduling a call with Coach Peter directly, 15-minute call. But I understand why you may not want to do that immediately. Who the hell are you talking about, Eddie? Glad that you asked. I'll link at the top right corner of the screen an interview that I had with Coach Peter about who he is, what led him to the movement, what his experience has been on carnivore himself and coaching people on carnivore, and then also a bit about the program and what to expect. You get lifetime access, you get a direct consultation service with me. Come on, no brainer.
Others in higher quantities. Again, this is why it's so important to be working with a dietitian to help you eat.
No, it is not. Why is that? That is a non sequitur right there. My book is really thick, right? It's really thick. Therefore, my door is unlocked. What? That doesn't make any sense. How does the logic follow from the premise? Right, well, same thing here, Abby. What the hell is this? What are you talking about? That's a good thumbnail picture, isn't it? Maybe that's what you see. Maybe that's what you see. Okay, I'm done.
Greatest variety of foods with the fewest amount of symptoms.
What? That was her diagnosis? Oh my god, that was her prognosis? Seriously? What was that again? No. Keep going.
In higher quantities. Again, this is why it's so important to be working with a dietitian to help you eat the greatest variety of foods with the fewest amount of symptoms.
Where the hell did that come from? What is the indication for variety in the human diet? In any animal's diet, where is the indication? What animal has a varied diet? Oh, gotta get your colors in for the day. Gotta get all of them in. Oh, I didn't eat red today. Ah. Oh, well, Eddie, that's not fair. Because we're not actually suggesting that you must eat every color of the rainbow every day. But what we are suggesting is that color is indicative of nutrient density. Why? How? Well, I mean, the color represents, pigmentation of the plant, which, that's nutrition. What kind of nutrition? What nutrients are we talking about? Oh, well, when it comes to orange, you got like beta carotene. Right. And in the studies that have been conducted in physiology journals and a bit of human nutrition science, what is the percentage conversion rate of beta carotene into its actual active form, vitamin A, which is actually of utility in the human body? Is it around 3%? Is beta carotene actually vitamin A? No, the answer is no. The answer is absolutely not. Where do you get actual retinol, vitamin A, in bioavailable forms and in higher absolute amounts, even if you're going to compare, retinol to beta carotene? The amount of retinol in like meat, for example, versus beta carotene in like sweet potato or something. Well, I kind of dropped the ball on that one, or what? That's not the word. That's not the phrase. Not drop the ball. I let the cat out of the bag there. It's meat. Animal products. So, Abby, no. Okay, you don't need variety in your diet. Okay. In fact, it's not. Let's not talk about merely what we need and what we don't need. Okay, because technically, cholesterol is a non-essential nutrient too. But it's obviously a horrible idea not to consume it. Okay, so we can't use that argument. It's about what is indicated versus what is contraindicated. What would an Edward A. Goki video be without some level of obnoxiousness?
Number 3, you're swallowing too much air.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Abby. Get out! Get the hell out of here. You're swallowing too much air. Really? It took her. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here, what my implications are here with my reaction. I'm not saying that that's not some influence or some culprit, okay? My problem is that she's making a video about the real reasons why you're bloated. And she put that, it took her 2 reasons to get to probably the least significant ones on the list. So what does that tell you about her understanding about bloating? It took her 2 to actually get to one of the least probable ones. You're swallowing too much air. Are you out of your mind? Yeah, I'll be sure to tell, I don't know, the next time my friend is bloated, someone online, someone that comes to me, I'll be sure to tell them that the 3rd most probable cause is because they're swallowing too much air. Abby, are you going to say anything correct in this video? Anything?
Consume and how we consume it can increase the amount of air that we swallow, which can build up in the digestive tract and lead to uncomfortable gas. So,
seriously? Oh, man. Abby,
It's like drinking carbonated beverages, drinking through a straw, chewing a lot of gum.
Okay, so drinking through a straw, perhaps. Get a better straw. The probability of this, really, seriously, is all.
While talking or eating in a hurry can all contribute to the amount of air entering our bodies and therefore bloating. Now, reason number 4, you are under eating or suffering from an eating disorder. Now, this is
Oh my god, trigger warning. Trigger warning. You are under eating or suffering from an eating disorder. This is her. What is the mechanism there? Abby, are you out of your f***ing mind?
topic, but there is a strong correlation between disordered eating and bloat.
What is that? What is the strength of that correlation? What is the behavior of that correlation? Is it linear? What studies are you referring to? Are you referring to any studies at all? What people were in the study? What were the people doing? What were the people not doing? What did they do beforehand? What was the signal-to-noise ratio when it came to the variables that were being studied in the first place? How were the variables measured? Come on.
For a variety of reasons. In short, chronically undereating can reduce stomach acid production, and
you don't have stomach acid. You have acidic solution. You have an acidic solution in the stomach. You have stomach fluid. You don't have stomach acid. That's a pedantic point, a captious point, actually. Pedantry is a good thing. Captiousness is not, really. But just fun fact, you don't have acid in your stomach, because an acid is a proton donor. The protons in the form of hydronium are already there, because HCl is a strong acid and it's fully dissociated in any solution of any pH. So it's not an acid anymore. Anyway, okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So too little stomach fluid is what you're saying. Okay, so this is your reasoning. This is your reasoning here. Okay.
Serotonin levels, which slows motility, and it can cause a sluggish thyroid, and it can also cause gastroparesis, which also slows.
History of eating disorder in patients with gastroparesis symptoms, more severe postprandial fullness and delayed gastric emptying. Right, okay. Right, so no, I just did a little cursory review of this. This is an opinion, and it's based on a bunch of noise. The methods involved 755 patients referring to a tertiary care academic medical center with symptoms suggestive of gastroparesis from July 2013 to May 2018. So that's really, seriously. And they completed a patient assessment of upper GI symptoms to capture symptom severity, self-report ED history, and gastric emptying scintigraphy. It is an association, once again. It's a correlation with no information about the strength of the correlation. And it's all based on respondent data as well. And also, it is suggestive of GP. It is not proof of it. So, cool, Abby.
This often can perpetuate further disordered eating because people wrongfully assume that they have food intolerances because they have symptoms when they do eat them, so they become more fearful of eating and then...
Right, well, what are some foods that are really conducive to increasing stomach acidity without having to consume a ton of it, Abby? And what are things that actually hinder the ability to produce stomach fluid that is acidic enough to, digest your food properly? In other words, what are things that damage your gut, and what are things that actually heal your gut? Another thumbnail picture.
Even less. And this actually just makes the digestive symptoms worse. Now, this deserves...
Perhaps it can, yeah. So, really, this is what you're going to get to now? You're under eating, you have too little stomach fluid. These are your reasons for bloating, really? These are the culprits.
whole video in itself. So if that's something of interest, definitely leave me a comment below. Reason number 5, you're not getting enough fiber and hydration.
Oh my Abby, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Define enough. Abby, define enough fiber. I just went through this with fiber. Also, is she from Canada? It sounds like she's got a Canadian accent. Peter, if you're watching, sorry. I'm sorry. The Canadians are out of hand. You're not. But, wow. Wow.
Get you anything?
Water would be nice.
So one of the major causes of bloating is actually constipation or poor motility.
Now, what causes that? What are some conducive causal influences to yielding that result from every strong inference that we have? Is it meat and animal products? Or is it something else?
Not consuming enough fiber and water to help your
Define enough, Abby. Fiber does stimulate gut motility. It doesn't mean it'll actually yield anything fruitful.
stool move through the bowels, you're gonna get
Right. Well, what happens whenever the fiber is actually going to... What happens when it causes an obstruction of your bowels? What happens then, Abby?
backed up, which means more fermentation and more gas.
No. Fermentation happens by the fiber, by the gut, with the fiber, from the fiber, of the fiber.
Bloating and distension. So you'll want to aim for at least 25 to 38 grams of fiber per day.
Nope, that is way too much. Abby's tip. So if it's Abby's tip, stay the away from it. Okay? Good rule of thumb. I kindly suggest. Abby, this is absolute utter trash, what you're saying right here, and it's dangerous. It's not based in any scientific veracity or scientific integrity. It's based on a bunch of propagandistic dogma, false dogma, that is bought and paid for. Okay? You know what you should be aiming for in terms of fiber intake per day? 0. I'm not kidding. Continue.
On sex, size, and tolerance, and a mix of soluble and insoluble fiber from
Nope, you don't want to do that.
like fruit, veggies,
Nope, don't eat those.
whole grains, and other plants.
Definitely don't eat those. And definitely don't eat whatever the this is. What the hell are you showing here, Abby? Are you kidding me right now? Really?
Don't forget that with any fiber, you need enough water to help propel that bulk through the bowel. So making sure that you're staying.
Actually, you don't necessarily need that. That depends on what you're eating. You don't need a lot of water to do that whatsoever. Or at least, at the very least, you don't need to be drinking so much water to get that down, okay?
Hydrated is really important to preventing yourself getting more backed up. And speaking of backed up, reason number 6 is you're eating too much fiber.
Wow, which is literally anything above 0. I just covered it!
So fiber is a really delicate balance when it comes to
No, it isn't. It's 0. 0. Don't have any. Okay? We're done.
digestion. It's a real Goldilocks and the Three Bears situation.
No, it isn't. Get rid of it entirely.
So like the porridge can easily be too hot or too cold.
Or it could always be hot, no matter what. or it could always just be a little too hot. It's just a hot spectrum, okay?
I hate it when someone messes with my porridge.
It's sometimes hard to get it right. But consuming excess
No, it isn't. It's not hard. Just remove it. Remove it from the diet. Look at this slop. Look at this slop. Yeah. Get all big and healthy.
fiber is usually accompanied by a heavy load of FODMAPs, which can cause fermentation, which leads to gas.
That fiber itself is fermented, Abbey. Stop reading off of your teleprompter with a script that someone provided for you.
Especially an issue if you're not used to consuming fiber and you suddenly consume a huge load of it.
Wow, right, yes, but that completely puts into question whether or not your maximum adaptation ability for the consumption of fiber is still going to be sufficient in the first place for withstanding the consumption of fiber, which it isn't, because our genotypic cap for that is not sufficient, because we're not designed to eat lots of fiber. We're not really designed to eat any. Abigail.
Perhaps we're just not consuming enough water to help support it. This
If anything, consuming the water will dilute your stomach acidity acutely. I'm really just throwing things out there at this point. Just whatever, Abby.
why it's worth working with a professional for any.
You know what? I completely agree. I completely agree with Abby. Once again, take a look at this. Let's just take a pause here. Okay, we've taken a few pauses here, but let's take another one. How does this make you feel? Does this make you feel good? Here, let's look at something else. You ready? Abby Sharp. 719,000 subscribers. See that? How about we talk about this video right here? 107,000 views. 3.6 thousand likes. What about this? I would love to see a more in-depth video on hormones. I think hormones are so fascinating, especially relating to the menstrual cycle and the circadian rhythm. It's really amazing how our bodies function in such a rhythmic way. Anyway, loved the video. Yes, please do a video on having an ED and it causing bloating. To add to the list, endometriosis. So more support, right? It's all of this support with hundreds of likes. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel good? Or does that make you perhaps feel a little indignant? In other words, very angry at, being unfairly treated. That's unfair, isn't it? That's unfair. Why is it that she gets so much support, so many people's support, while spouting absolute nonsense without thinking she's reading from a teleprompter? Why is it that when you go online and you see coaches saying, you need carbs, you need fiber, bro, that they have thousands of people in their community? Anybody is a professional nowadays. It's time to make authority mean something. This is a moral obligation. This is a crisis we have in our hands. We need to grow. Okay, that's how the free market works. They're growing. They're going to dominate us if we don't step it up, if we don't step up to the plate. Now's your chance. Get the international accreditation. You get internationally accredited through our program, which means you actually get legal certification. It's far easier to acquire insurance. You get the ability to directly interact with medical professionals of your clientele to further help these people. Imagine a person desperate for care. And there are about 10 different people trying to take that person up as a client. And imagine she gets to them first. Because frankly, that person doesn't care. That person in desperate need of care does not care about who picks them up. They are so desperate. So do you want it to be by someone that doesn't know what the f you're talking about, or do you want it to be from someone or by someone like yourself that does know? I guess I should say potentially, because you might be an Abbey Sharp fan. So yeah, that's what I would say. This program is not for people that are fans of Abbey Sharp, okay? If you're a fan of Abbey Sharp, okay, you're a fan of fiber and carbohydrates and all that stuff, this program isn't for you. But if that's, if you are someone that that wants to know if they're a good fit, links are in the description below. Once again, links are in the description below.
Patient-related issues, because there really can be some careful trial and error to ensure that you're getting enough fiber, but
No, enough is 0.
too much to help move the bowels.
Too much is anything beyond 0. You don't need fiber to move the bowels. How do cats and lions do it in the wild without consuming fiber?
Out excess bulk. And that brings me to
Excess bulk will be acquired with any consumption of fiber.
7, inadequate digestive outputs. Anytime we see someone make any drastic quick changes to their diet, whether it's, a crash weight loss diet or an unsupervised elimination diet, eating disorder, etc., there's a risk of normal digestion going south. Major fast changes to diet don't allow your body the time it needs to really catch up on digestive outputs, like creating the right enzymes or stomach acid amounts. So for example, if you've been dairy-free for years and you suddenly have a big bowl of ice cream, your body has gotten used to not having to produce the lactase enzyme to break that down. So
Yes, you're talking about a phenotypic adaptation as opposed to a genotypic adaptation. Yes, Abby, we understand.
yeah, it's probably gonna hurt. Ditto for folks who've gone vegan and who suddenly have a 16-ounce steak. Their body didn't get the urgent memo in time to produce enough of the protease enzymes and stomach acid needed to break that porterhouse down.
Wow, so she actually said something correct in this video. Look at that. You go, Abby. You go. Yay! So you said one thing, right? Yep, you get that. You get that.
So we need to really go slow to train the gut to upregulate the enzyme and stomach acid production to meet the body's changing demands.
Correct. Again, I think this warrants another little bit of a party horn there, because that's true. That is true. This is one of the reasons why it's very important that if you were to transition from your current diet to a carnivore diet, for example, a species-appropriate diet, it is very important to do so very prudently, very carefully, okay? Very important that you do so, because if you don't, well, good luck, because you might have some problems. In my book, I actually have a whole chapter on transitioning. I've suggested 6 to 8 weeks, maybe longer. It just depends. It really does just depend.
Moving on to reason number 8, hormones. Now the
I mean, sure, but come on, really? We're scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
progesterone hormone leading up to that time of the month can not only contribute to the feeling of bloating from
Wait. Was she pregnant? Yeah. That had to have been. I'm like, hold on a second. Wait, no. You're talking about bloating, and then you show that. I was like, wait, whoa.
water retention, but also typically results in constipation, which can further exacerbate
Relationships, so correlations, which immediately puts into question the strength of them, the way that they were calculated, whether they were adjusted for, whether it's linear in the first place, blah, blah, blah. All the things I listed before between symptoms, menstrual cycle, and orocecal transit. Yes, orocecal transit in normal and constipated women. Okay, right. So what do we got here? 14 constipated women, 7 normal menstruating women, 5 postmenopausal women, and 8 normal men. So not adequate whatsoever to perform your study.
symptoms of gas, bloating, and abdominal discomfort. I know I'm simplifying this because hormones is another one of those massively complicated topics. So let's just leave it at that. And if you want more hormone related content, let me know in the comments below. But speaking of a massive topic, reason number 9 is that you have a functional GI disorder. So,
oh, goodness me. Abby. Yes, but why don't you tie it back to diet? It's mostly diet related. Why don't we put into question why you have the GI disorder?
if you've ruled out all of the above and you're still experiencing bloating, it could be a sign that there may be a more serious gastrointestinal disorder going on.
Like, I don't know, abrasions to the enteric lining from things like fiber. Okay, damage being done by plant toxins to the digestive system. Because plants are toxic, Abby. It's why you don't go into the wild and choose to eat any bush of berries that you find, any plant that you find. Okay, plants are toxic.
Some common digestive disorders that can cause bloating include things like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, IBD.
Yeah, now how about we talk about all of the thousands of anecdotes of people online talking about how they have completely cured their IBS, their Crohn's disease, their celiac disease, all of these things with a carnivore diet. Within weeks, sometimes within days. I have a health science community. I was just talking about it earlier. In my health science community, we have an anecdotes tab, which is a complete repository of all the people that join to provide their anecdotes, because it's extremely important that we get these collected, okay? Dave Mack of No Carb Life is someone who has done, I think he's done the best job with this, but there are people in my community that he hasn't interviewed. So there's more than he's interviewed, okay? He's interviewed over 1,000 people. Well over 1,000 people. Okay, but if you haven't been interviewed by him, and even if you have, go sign up to be a member of the community. Go sign up. So that you can provide your anecdotes. And also, among other things. I mean, we're having a group call every week, and we're doing some very fun things in there. Exclusive videos that talk about broader things than I discuss on YouTube, and really good conversations thus far. It's really going well. It's really going well. I've got a feature where it's the supporting notes of like all my videos as well. If you get lost, if you get backed up, if your queue gets backed up and all that, and you haven't watched a video yet, you get to look at the notes about it, like all that stuff. It's some good stuff and I'm really looking forward to what this is going to be in just a few months.
Disease, hypochlorhydria, histamine intolerance, and pancreatic insufficiency. Now, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty on each of these, but if you do suspect there is a medical issue, be proactive and be pushy with your primary healthcare provider to get the appropriate tests run. Now, moving on to reason number 10, infection, overgrowth, or dysbiosis.
Right, which a lot of times has to do with acidity levels, which can be regulated with, what do you know? A carnivore diet. What is the cause of the dysbiosis? What is the cause of the overgrowth?
There are a number of potential infections and overgrowths that can potentially contribute to digestive symptoms like bloating. So things like H. pylori, SIBO, CFO, C. diff, candida, worms, parasites, or just general dysbiosis in the gut. The diagnostic tools that we have for these include things like breath tests, like you saw me do in my SIBO series, or GI mapping or other stool samples.
Right, so you tested positive for SIBO, and yet you continue encouraging people to eat the way that you do. Are you kidding me? Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Come on, Abby. Come on.
That your doctor can order from a lab. In any case, do not follow some TikToker's protocol and assume that you have like an infection or an overgrowth without the proper tests run, because there are pharmaceutical and herbal treatments for these that are very specific to the cause. Now, reason number 11 is thyroid dysfunction. So
which in many cases is caused by plants because, well, Hashimoto's disease, goiter, all of these things are influenced by plant compounds that directly either compete with iodine for absorption at the level of the thyroid or directly damage thyroid tissue. Okay, have you ever heard of isothiocyanates? The precursor glucosinolates. Maybe you've heard of those before. The word thio is in there for a reason. Wait a second. It's spelled differently. So that actually might not be the yeah, I'd have to look into it myself.
Thyroid is so important. Not
Correct.
only is it your metabolic epicenter, but it's also
Yes.
in charge of communicating with every other system to produce enough bile acid, pancreatic acid, enzymes, and to stimulate motility, you name it. So
Right. I think you meant bile acids. Plural.
folks with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's often experience severe digestive distress and bloating because the thyroid receptors in the abdomen are not getting enough thyroid hormone, so the gut isn't getting.
Okay, so a bunch of fringe reasonings that also, even if they are the reasons, are to do with plants anyway. Still. Okay, notice the pattern. They don't want to admit it, though, because it's like, oh, that's just an axiom, right? Can't tear that down. That's just self-evidently true. It's like, okay. Like, come on, man. Okay, George Washington. The truth is not self-evident. It's not true, Abbey.
Those digestive signals. As a result, we see poor motility, which leads to constipation, which means the food has more time to ferment, and therefore a lot more gas and bloating, which also predisposes these folks to other conditions like SIBO and Candida. In any case, these symptoms usually improve dramatically once we correct the thyroid hormone. Reason number 12, trauma to the brain-gut axis. Now,
Right, which is caused by what? Because that is connected primarily through vagus nerves. Okay, you've got two of them. That's the transmission there. And there is literal evidence that lectins will climb up the vagus nerve to the brain. All of these lectins are a plant toxin, Abbey. They all interfere with the normal function of the indicated function of the human body.
I've spoken about the brain-gut axis before, but in short, this is the
The gut-brain axis, interactions between enteric microbiota, central and enteric nervous systems. Yes, we all know that this is a real thing.
directional communication between the central and enteric nervous system that links cognitive centers of the brain with intestinal functioning. It's a concept behind the idea of having butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous.
Yes.
Any physical or emotional trauma that damages this brain-gut axis has the power to cause bloating. So this could be actual physical trauma, like a football player's head injury, or more psychological trauma related to PTSD, depression, or anxiety, which is also often.
Oh, Abbey, everything that you just cited was merely associative. This is opinionated. Even if I am to agree with the opinions, what you just cited was all opinion. Okay, there's also an association between margarine purchases and divorce rates, actually. I mean, it's just... Come on, Abbey.
Related to low serotonin levels. Now, what if
Yes, because your gut microbiota are involved in producing serotonin.
excess sodium and sugar?
Well, excess sugar is anything beyond 0. Excess sodium, well, good luck getting excess sodium in your diet.
We often use the term bloated to describe a feeling when we eat like a really salty meal or have a huge sugar load. But this puffy feeling is more accurately described as water retention. In the case
Okay, yes.
of salt, high sodium foods can cause our bodies to retain excess water, which can
Oh, goodness me. The use of the word excess. No, it's not in excess. It's exactly how much water the body is ought to hold on to according to the external environment that you've placed it in. and the internal environment that you've placed it in subsequently. Abbey. The DASH diet. Get the out of here. But Abbey, it doesn't have anything to do with salt. Again, fire pyramid. It's salt, which has an osmotic force, of course, and it increases blood volume. It can help with that. But only if it's retained in high amounts. The retention being caused by renal regulation by insulin. It's the carbs. It's the sugar. It goes back. And where do carbohydrates come from? Again, put aside dairy. Interesting how it's like the only animal product that, well, is an exception here. And therefore probably explains why people have a lot of problems with dairy in many cases. Again, it's not only that, the way that it's made. I know that. They come from plants. We are done.
To contribute to feeling puffy, or in colloquial terms, bloated. With carbohydrates, when consumed in excess, the energy
which is anything beyond 0, Abbey.
we don't immediately need gets stored as glycogen, along with 3 grams of water for every gram of carbohydrate.
Yes, because it has an osmotic force. It's the osmolarity of glycogen. Yes, correct. It fills you out, right? Cool. Anyway, now that she's talking about a biochemistry that she doesn't understand whatsoever, any excess sugar that your body doesn't need immediately for energy, most of the time it doesn't need the sugar for energy. Okay, when you say for energy, there's also 2 ways in which the body creates energy. Through anaerobic means, through glycogenolysis and glycolysis, glycolysis being sort of a subset of glycogenolysis in the cells that actually use such a process. And then also aerobic metabolism, which can use fatty acids, ketones, pyruvate, a glucose derivative through glycolysis and or glycogenolysis, and alcohol in the forms of methanol and ethanol. It can actually also use amino acids, but you don't want to be put into a situation where you're using protein for aerobic metabolism.
So this explains why people who go on really low carb diets drop a ton of weight really quick.
No, moron. Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Okay? Get the out. And then this is why they drop an enormous amount of weight. If she says very quickly, yes. Yes, because they're dropping water weight. But it is not the entire reason, because obviously, after a month or 2 or 3, they're not just dropping water weight, they're dropping loads of fat. Okay? This is her way of perfunctorily dismissing low carb. Callously. Just like, yeah, this is why people that are on low carb, they have this. They have this result.
It's a lot of water storage weight from the glycogen depleting. Now to
so it's also glycogen, isn't it? So you just... Anyway, yeah, just a really callous, stupid, sassy remark from Abbey. Not really shocked.
off, I want to remind everyone that this is not an exhaustive list of causes, and
well, you didn't even scratch the surface of the actual reasons. You sort of did in the first 2, but you completely missed the point.
Bloating experience is going to be unique and often multifactorial. But I do hope that
like most of every single thing.
Gives you all a little bit of insight into your own digestive patterns and
maybe a little bit. Yep. Not what we actually need, though.
whether or not it's time to bring your case to a skilled practitioner for advice.
You don't know what a skilled practitioner is. You're not good at recommending skilled people at all.
So on that note, that is all that I have for you guys today. If you liked it, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Stay tuned for part 2 in this bloating episode. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye. Is diet...
Anyway, oops, it looks like I forgot to subscribe. Man, I need to remember in just a second to do so. I have to remember to do that after I do this. Yeah, so anyway, what's the main cause of bloating? Let's just make it really simple. It's plants. All right, there are some other subsidiary, more fringe causes. Yes, lack of adaptation to the diet that you're on, maybe under eating. Yes, I understand that. My main problem with that is that she started talking about the fringe reasons after 2 things. And of those two things, she was sort of getting somewhere, but she missed the point entirely, and she always will, because she will refuse to believe that plants are bad for you. Some people just, they will never believe it. And so they will continue living their life. It's kind of like trying to reach the end of a destination by closing the one main door that gets you there. So there's a bunch of other places, the other ways that you can get through there, or try to get through there, and try and arrive at that destination with all these different pathways, but you never fully get there. You just get closer and closer because you've blocked the main door that gets you directly there just immediately. It's like, yeah, that's what it reminds me of. It's like, okay, so you insist on that door being closed? Okay, it'll be closed. Good luck ever approximating the truth ever. Fully. Good luck. Anyway. Absolutely ridiculous nonsense from Abbey. What did we expect? What did we really expect? Really? What did we really expect? So, anyway, with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, send this to Abbey. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, once again, buy my book, Contraindicated, a closer look and revision of mainstream health axioms that have perpetuated illness, disorder, and disease for over a century. And once again, become a certified carnivore coach through our carnivore certification program, and become a member of my health science community, which is the best health science community in the alternative health space. Just one of its kind is the ultimate health science community. Because once again, I mean, we need more people, but we need to fight back against this nonsense by building communities. Okay. Community helps keep you accountable. It helps keep you sharp. It helps keep you strict on your, it helps keep you on the track to the ideal best version of yourself. Okay. So like I said, if you're someone that is keen to optimize your health, if you want a place where the science is discussed plainly without a hidden agenda, if you want to know what actually matters versus what's a distraction, what makes a difference versus what is just complete and utter noise, all right? If you have a deep curiosity into the inner workings of the human body and what that actually means for you on a day-to-day basis, you want to be able to reconcile seemingly contradictory studies. You loved my book, Contraindicated, if you've read it. Okay, if you're intelligent and you're good looking. Okay, all right, I'm done. Then this is the place to be. Okay. On the other hand, if you're a hardcore ideologue, you don't care about human health, you're not interested in determining fact from fiction, you don't want to be told that you do want to be told that you're right without being challenged, even when you're not getting the results that you want, then this isn't the place for you. But of course, I suspect that you're not that type of person. So again, we need more veracity in the space. We need more rigor. We need more truth, integrity, discipline, and an emphasis on hard science, which Abbey does not understand. Okay. So again, become a founding member of this community. At the time of recording, we're in the founding phase. I actually won't even go through that right now because I don't know if we will be. But if we are, to find out if we are actually, go ahead and check out my live tab. Go ahead and check out my live tab on my page. So, with that being said, join me next time whenever we're reacting to more nonsense online, because that's really all that we're getting nowadays. You can be that change. You can be the change. So, till then.